Hi everybody, it's Teresa McGallagher here, and I'm coming on again today because I know a lot of people are still struggling with being out of work, being forced to stay home, quarantined, having illness in their family or deaths of their loved ones from COVID-19. And I want to offer some inspiration and encouragement to you. So I thought today that I would talk to you about communication from beyond. My father died unexpectedly in 2008, and after he passed away, I used to sometimes think, just in my head, I wouldn't say out loud, but I would just think like, hey Dad, how are you doing? I hope you're happy now. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're enjoying heaven, these kinds of things. And I started to see the numbers 1111 all the time. I had never seen them or noticed them before, and I started to see 1111 on the clock. I would see it on cash register receipts. I would see it as the balance in my PayPal, all kinds of different places. And it has continued to this day since 2009. I see 1111, I would say at least once a day, and sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. And I take that as a sign from my dad that he just wants to say hi and everything is okay. Maybe it doesn't mean that, but I like to think it does, and it makes me happy. So I had this notion for a while that he was around and communicating with me. And the great sage Ramakrishna says that death is nothing but a passage, as if moving from one room to another. It's not this big, traumatic, like serious and harsh thing that we seem to think it is. It's just a laying aside of the body and moving on to a different dimension, a different world, a different experience. So what I want to share with you today is some stories about the passing of my father-in-law. Yesterday was the anniversary of the passing of my father-in-law last November, and he was a person who was raised with very strict religious parents who were really kind of hard on him. He told me once that it seemed as if there were so many sins a person could commit during their lifetime that it would be nearly impossible to get into heaven. It was kind of a scary and sad childhood, I think, always worried about doing the right thing, saying the right thing. And he was sick for about a year before he passed away. He declined gradually, little by little. And we were not especially close because I lived overseas most of the time after I married his son for 20 some years, but we would come back to the US and visit, and he was always very sweet and very complimentary to me, and we connected. I really liked him a lot. And the last year that he was sick, I thought, boy, this guy really needs a friend. He's struggling, he's in pain, he had gout, and he had a lot of other health issues. And so I decided to just start texting him every morning and say good morning. And I started that, and he would text me back and say good morning. And we had that little thing going on for about a year before he passed away. Well, on the day that my father-in-law transitioned, we were in Pennsylvania where he lived, and all of us family members saw a murmuration of starlings in front of the house. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, a murmuration of birds, but it's a really amazing sight to see. It's a huge number, hundreds, maybe thousands of birds, all flying together in concert with one another and making patterns in the sky. It's really beautiful, and I don't think scientists really understand how the birds are able to do that, how they communicate with one another about when to turn, what direction to go so they don't bump into each other. But this was going on in front of the house all afternoon and also into the next day. I filmed this and I posted it on my Facebook page. So that was really kind of amazing. And birds are a symbol for the connection between heaven and earth. So a good symbol for soul ascending, to another plane. So that happened. And then the next day when I went out to take a picture of the sunset from the property, I took a picture, and then afterwards I looked at my camera and I saw that it had this weird orb on it, a green orb. I'm going to try to show it to you. If you can see here, if the glare is not too bad. This green I researched it because I thought that was really weird, and I found, oh, it could be a reflection of the camera lens. But it's never happened since. It never happened before, and it's never happened since, except for the next evening when I was looking up at the stars and the moon. I took a picture, and that green orb also appeared. So to me, this seemed like some kind of sign from my father-in-law. And then later on, my daughter, who is 21 years old, was listening to music on her phone one day, and suddenly my father-in-law's voice started talking. So she looked at her phone and realized that somehow her phone had gone from music to voicemail, and a voice message that my father-in-law had left for her had just started playing for no apparent reason. A few days after that happened, I was in my office listening to something on YouTube on my computer while I was doing some chores, and all of a sudden I heard my father-in-law's voice talking too. So I went over to my computer to see what was going on, and the YouTube video had somehow flipped to a video on my sister-in-law's Facebook page where she had recorded him talking some months prior, and there he was. There his voice was. It was as if he was trying to still talk to us and still communicate with us. Shortly after that, my husband was sitting outside by the swimming pool one morning, and he was thinking about his dad. And all of a sudden, the fountains turned on and started running all by themselves. Normally, you had to press a button or a switch to make the fountains come on. So that was very strange and unusual. And then the last thing that happened was we went to visit my mother-in-law a few months later. She was having a hard time. She was missing her husband. They had been married for over 40 years, and she had never lived alone. So my husband and I decided to go and see her. And while we were sitting on the front porch of her house, all of a sudden we noticed a whole bunch of orioles, Baltimore oriole birds, in her garden. She had never seen them in her garden in all the years she had lived there. And that was my father-in-law's favorite bird. He would look for them when he was out walking, and often he would see them way high up in the treetops, but they never came down to the house and ate at the bird feeders or in the garden that my mother-in-law had. She has lots of bird feeders in her front yard, and all kinds of other birds come there every day, but they had never seen Baltimore orioles, and there were 4 or 5 of them all just sitting there eating at the bird feeders. So the moral of this story, this personal story that I have been sharing, is that there is communication that happens, and if we are open to it, and if we are willing to see the signs of our loved ones that want to contact us and that want to let us know that they're still connected with us and we are still connected with them, it's all around us. It's just a matter of being in tune, being willing to notice these things, and being open to receive the message. I hope this information that I've shared with you today has lifted your spirits a little bit. And my name is Teresa McGallagher, and it's been my pleasure to share this with you. I hope you have a lovely evening, and feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have for me down below in the comments area. Thank you.